Hi guys, I hope that you guys are doing amazing. Welcome back to this channel. So in this video, an Asian American woman by the name of Amy Chen is trying to explain to say, I do not know how whites experience racism, because this person apparently did a reply to her video to say white people also experience racist today. But anyway, she got a response from a white person. I'm just going to roll the clips and then I'm going to be back for some commentary.
So, I'm going to go ahead and openly admit that I am completely ignorant about the white experience with racism, and I'm sure that is painfully obvious to a lot of you. Now, I know that I'm always telling other people don't be lazy and entitled, the internet is free, look things up on your own, but it's not that I haven't tried to engage in my own research. I have literally searched, how do white people experience racism? And unfortunately, not a lot of information comes up. Most of it is articles questioning whether white people can experience racism, or articles about the myth of anti white racism. However, I, of all people, know that the dominant narrative is not necessarily accurate because it is often pushing a harmful agenda. So, because there is that dearth of information on the internet, I was wondering if you could please help me understand, how do white people experience racism, and what does experiencing racism look like from your perspective as a white person? And also, can you help me understand, if white people experience racism, why are there not more of you who are working to dismantle racism? Because what I've noticed is I'm often told that white people do experience racism without any specifics, and in the context of either gaslighting or upholding the racism that other people experience. Whereas with most people of the global majority, when we share similarities and differences in how we experience racism, we use that information to increase our work to dismantle racism. Whereas people like you seem to only bring it up to decrease that work. I was wondering if you could please help me understand, how do white people experience racism?
Hey, Amy. I know that this post is really more of a rhetorical question because I know that ultimately at the end of the day, you know the answer. Obviously, you've never experienced racism as a white person, so you can't speak to the white experience, and I appreciate you recognizing that. And Inigo's not answering your question for some weird reason, but by looking at the comments in your comments section, I'm realizing that there's a lot of people, specifically white people, who don't really understand kind of the gist. And here's the reality: white people experience racism every day, and white people are victims of racism every day, but not in the way that Inigo is trying to say we are. The way that we experience racism every day is through the conditioning of our parents, our educators, our mentors, and society. This idea that we are innately, or we are subconsciously and subversively taught to believe that we are innately superior. Therefore, because of our innate superiority, we lean back on the laurels of our mediocrity and we don't really push ourselves to be our best selves. Secondly, we're victims of racism for other reasons. An example of us being victims of racism is the privatized prison industrial complex. That was originally designed to keep down people of color, minorities, and marginalized groups. But now, because of the way that the laws are written, there are now white folks who are being caught up in the system because they don't have the money to hire an attorney. They don't have the money for proper criminal defense legislation, or they live in marginalized areas and they're being swept up. So that would be a very specific micro example of how white folks can be victims of systemized racism. And there are a ton of other examples. We're victims of racism for the sheer fact that we are denying ourselves of the beauty of diversity, of the beauty of differences, the beauty of having people in our lives who don't look like us, who don't think like us, who don't believe like us, because of this conditioned idea that we are superior and therefore we should be by ourselves. We should be segregated away from the masses, and we're really limiting ourselves by doing that. Now, there's a ton of other examples. I could talk for probably hours. I'm sure there are books out there that talk about this. I'm sure there are a bunch of books. But as a white person, yes, I do experience this every day, and I am a victim of it every day. And even though I was raised by an anti-racist family, there are still things that I am conditioned to believe by society that I still have to break through every single day. And I still have to put my anti-racist hat on and think about whether or not I am using my whiteness as an excuse to be mediocre. And ultimately, that's how we experience racism. Ultimately, that's how we're victims of racism. So, Inigo, where you at, my guy?
First of all, I definitely feel like this palm colored lady should not have picked up the phone to start recording what she was recording, because if she's gonna say she experiences this every day, there's no way she's just gonna say there's a ton of them and repeatedly say that and not really include it in what she's saying. Like, you're gonna say you're gonna spend hours talking about the bad things that you go through. How about just spill them already? Because if it hurts that much, you're gonna have to, like, you just fall in it. You get what I'm saying? Like, we do not source for struggles. Struggles are there and they're felt in heart. So nobody has to go around and start thinking, oh, maybe there can be books about this. I am sure there are books about this. Like, collectively, we already know. And already she mentions about how micro she thinks that white people experience racism. And she cannot even bring out the ton she's talking about. Like, bro, give me something else, all right? And the fact that she's seated behind and talking about how they are mediocre just because they rely on the system, and how they are also being they feel like they are being mistreated together with the rest just because somebody doesn't have money, and that's the few that we're talking about, does not qualify as something to be collectively called that these white people experience racism. Now, racism is discrimination and prejudice against people based on their race or ethnicity, and it can be presented in social actions, practices, or political systems that support the expression of prejudice or evasion in discriminatory practices. Now, we know that we're talking about systems here, and the whole system, let's just say in America, favors the white person, the palm colored person. So it's not a lot. And for people that I have seen go to other countries, really, I have not seen like a white person come online, show me one, please, come online and say that they were not well received in the country where they went. Usually because of the colonization and everything that happened, people, especially black people, were kind of conditioned to worship or praise a white person when they come. Like, they will clap for them when they say something in the language, it's bent, it's not straight and everything. But somebody would get laughed at for trying to speak English, because I do not know, you guys. Like, so I definitely would say it's not permanent for me. We do not even have like cardinal examples of it, really. If you guys know how and you straight on with it, please put it in the comment section below, and so that everybody can know. Otherwise, you guys, share this video with your friends and everyone who you would want to hear about this. Remember to subscribe and like this video so that it's recommended for more people to watch it.